Who in your life is divorced? Maybe it's you. In my case, it's my parents. I was 14 when they separated and 15 when they got divorced. While both my parents absolutely worked hard to shield my brothers and me from the distress of it all, it was hard. And none of us really had anywhere to go for help. Well, my guest today is one place to go for help. Oona Metz is a nationally recognized therapist, writer, and speaker who specializes in working with women who are navigating divorce.
Hate is not the opposite of love, right? Because hate keeps you attached. And sometimes women, when they're getting divorced, they're so consumed by what their ex is doing or saying, or what the kids are doing when they're at the ex's house, and that they're consumed and they're still attached. And I think there's an important phase of being able to let go of your ex, letting go of the narrative of what happened, letting go of other people's narrative of what happened.
Hi, I'm Dayna Del Val, author, TEDx speaker, and visibility coach for leaders ready to effect change and become audaciously visible. On this podcast, I sit down with leaders from across backgrounds to explore the space where curiosity, connection, and progress meet, especially in a polarized world. Welcome to Brave Middle Ground. Oona, welcome to Brave Middle Ground.
It's so nice to be here. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you. I am too. When our mutual friend, Olivia Hull, connected us, I spent a little time on your site and was very excited to talk with you because I haven't talked to somebody about how you find middle ground through divorce, which on one hand feels absolutely impossible, and on the other hand,
Right.
I think is very, very possible. And given what I've learned from your site, I know today's conversation is going to be healing and helpful for many of my listeners.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Good. So let's start at the beginning, Oona. How do you define middle ground?
Oh, great question. Well, I think especially if we're talking about divorce, then the middle ground has to be someplace in between the incredible kind of heartbreak that can come with divorce and the feeling of relief and empowerment that oftentimes, once people have done the work of grieving, kind of comes into play. And so I think in that middle space, there can be moments or weeks or months of middle ground, and all of them important.
Thank you for that. Tell us, how did you start doing this work? It's, I mean, you'll always have work, I guess, so that's got job security, but
Yes.
What brought you to this in the first place?
Oh, great question. So I've been a therapist in Boston for about 30 years, and I've always run therapy groups in my practice. And then about 16 years ago, I went through my own divorce. And when I went through the divorce, I really wanted to talk to other people who had been through it. I was looking for a support group myself. I had a young daughter. I wanted to know she was going to be okay. I wanted to know I was going to be okay. And I had great friends and family members, but they just didn't get it in the same way. And so I kind of noticed that there weren't any support groups around, and this little seed got planted in my mind. And I thought, maybe when I heal from my divorce, I'm already a therapist. I already know how to run groups, and maybe I'll do this. And so I started these 3 weekly support groups in my practice for women going through divorce. And all 3 of those groups are still going today.
Wow.
And they're some of my favorite hours of the week because there's such healing that happens in connection. And there's such an amazing kind of magic that happens in the room where this transformation happens. I see all the time of women coming in just being so devastated and kind of broken and upset and lost. And after they've been in the group for quite some time, they all kind of get strength from each other and become so much stronger and happier and more empowered. And so it's just an incredible transformation to watch. And And I finally decided I had so much useful information about the emotional journey of divorce. I finally decided, oh my God, I've got to write a book. So I just, opened up my laptop and started writing and didn't stop for a couple of months. The words just poured out of me.
I'm envious if it only took you a couple of months to get that first draft out. I'm working on a book of my own and it feels like it's taking much longer than that. So
Well, it
I'm
was
gonna,
the first 4 chapters that poured out, and then
okay, that makes me feel better. Thank you for that.
yes.
Una, I was reading an article that you wrote, I think in 2023, about Reese Witherspoon getting divorced.
Oh, yes.
And a couple of things really struck me. You started by saying Reese Witherspoon announced her divorce recently in an Instagram post with the following message. We have enjoyed so many wonderful years together and are moving forward with deep love, kindness, and mutual respect for everything we've created together. I had to read it twice. Was this a divorce announcement or a wedding invite? Because deep love, kindness, and mutual respect aren't the primary words I associate with divorce. So that's the first piece I want to talk about with you, because it's true. Famous people always get divorced with this incredible, magnanimous, he's my best friend, we've never loved each other more. We're just so almost delighted in each other that we have no choice but to get divorced, which feels very opposite of how I think. I mean, I'm not a divorced person, but I lived through my parents' divorce. There was not a lot of, I just love you so much, I simply have to leave you going on in my household. And it was a fairly benign divorce. So can you just talk about that? What do you think's going on with that? And then we'll move on to the other big important piece I want to talk about.
Okay, great. Yes, so that was the first article that I published about divorce, and it really struck me because there were a whole it wasn't just Reese, there were a whole series of celebrities right around that same time, and I think that was clearly written by a PR person, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a way in which celebrities want to appear in a certain way. And look, I don't think that celebrities owe us to tell us about their dirty laundry. I don't need to know the exact reasons why Reese got divorced, but I do think it really does a disservice for us regular people to have celebrities who a lot of people, listen to or, look up to, say that everything's rosy, everything's wonderful, because you're right, it's not. In most cases, it's not rosy, it's not wonderful, it's not with deep love and respect that people divorce. And I think, there can be harder and easier divorces, and lots of people try to kind of be respectful or make it better for the kids, but it's always difficult. No one has planned this. Nobody goes to their wedding day thinking like, gee, someday, you think on your wedding day, well, someday we'll have a house and we'll have kids and grandkids, or someday we'll, travel the world together. Nobody goes to their wedding and thinks like, someday we're going to get divorced, So even if you're the one initiating it, it's still heartbreaking. So I wish that celebrities would just say we're getting divorced and leave it at that. They don't have to tell us all the reasons, but don't whitewash it either.
Well, it's so fascinating because I'd never thought about it until I read your article, and then I started thinking through, Gwyneth Paltrow and Chris Martin's conscious uncoupling, and and all these people who do this, because you almost always read something very similar to what you quoted Reese Witherspoon's announcement being. And I thought, isn't it so incredible? The same way we're told that, runway models just have voracious appetites and can eat whatever they want and just can't put on weight, is the same way that we're told that now they go through these very sort of euphoric divorces where it's almost like a gift you're giving to yourself and to your partner to just release them into the world when the rest of us are just slogging through the damn mud, trying to just get by day, trying
Yes.
not to ruin our children's lives or trying not to
Right.
blow up our own diets or whatever it
Right.
is we don't
Dreading the
seem able
next
to
text
do.
that comes in, having a
Yeah.
panic attack when you see the email from the lawyer with the invoice in it, right? Yeah.
all
Yeah.
all of those things. I was so struck by just yet again another way that the haves and the have-nots, or the
Yes.
knowns and the unknowns, seem to live in two different worlds. But of course, your point is correct. She didn't leave him out of deep love, loyalty, and respect. She left him probably because, at least at one point in their marriage, he and perhaps she both had pretty serious drinking problems. And they had
Right.
a number of public fights and all these kinds of things. That's just being a human. Let's
That's right.
all just be human.
Yes. Right. 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 So they could say that. That could be the divorce
Yeah.
announcement.
Yeah, we fought like
We're
friggin'
getting
cats and
divorced.
dogs, and we're
Right.
just not well matched. And we're sad about it, but we're moving
Right.
on.
Yeah. And like half of marriages, we also are going to end in divorce.
Yeah. And then this was the phrase, and this is a sentence from you that hit me incredibly hard. And I'm going to read the sentence and then I'll tell you why, and then I'll let you respond. You say, no one brings a lasagna or sends flowers when a marriage dies.
That's right.
And the reason that that hit me so hard is because almost 9 years, it'll be more than 9 years when this conversation airs, ago, my husband went in to the hospital for a 14-hour nosebleed and was gone for 6.5 weeks because we discovered he was a raging alcoholic. And so he was 2.5 weeks in the hospital and 4 weeks in inpatient rehab. And the reason that nobody sent me flowers or lasagna was largely in part because I told no one what was going on. And so
Because of shame and
because
stigma,
of shame and
right?
isolation,
Yep.
I denied people the opportunity to even be helpful to me if they would have had that propensity. And so I'm wondering if you see parallels there around shame and isolation attached to divorce, even though, like addiction, you find me a person who can say, I just don't know anyone who's divorced. I just have no experience with that.
It doesn't happen.
No,
Doesn't happen.
it doesn't seem
They're
to.
everywhere. And it's the minute you write a book about divorce, it's really everywhere. The other day I
Yes.
was in a lift getting a ride to work, and the Lyft driver, I always ask female Lyft drivers about their kids, and we got into a whole conversation about her kids and her marriage and her divorce, and so it is everywhere. It is everywhere. I think we have some pretty good traditions around death.
Yeah,
Right?
we really,
so
even if it's a death from a terrible thing.
Yes, that's right. That's right. We have great traditions around death. We have wakes, we have funerals, we sit Shiva. People know what to do. It's not hard. I mean, sometimes people don't know what to say, but they
Right.
do know that they should reach out. They know they should send a sympathy card. They know they should attend the wake or the funeral or the Shiva. They know that it would be nice to bring over a lasagna or a casserole. In some places it's a casserole, and some places
In the Midwest, it's a
lasagna.
straight up hot dish. So
A
like
hot
a
dish,
casserole,
okay.
but
Yes,
even
yes.
even more casual.
Right. A hot dish, right. But with divorce, and I think there's so much grief involved in divorce, right? A marriage has died,
Yeah.
right? And people still don't really know what to do when that happens. And so I'm trying to change the conversation about that. I think Olivia Howell, who connected us, is really changing the conversation. She's got this fantastic divorce registry. Like you have a baby registry, you have a wedding registry. Why not a divorce registry? That's actually when people need it the most, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think there is a level of shame and stigma that keeps both divorced people from reaching out for help and the people around them from knowing how to help or when to help or if to help. I think I have a new piece I've just written that's about, like, should you congratulate somebody or give them condolences when they say they're divorced? Which is it? And I think sometimes you have to listen in to hear which got to be attuned to hear if somebody wants congratulations or if they want condolences, because it could be
Yeah.
either or both,
Or
depending on the
neither.
situation.
They
Or
maybe
neither.
just want you
Yep.
to say,
Listen.
how are you
Yeah.
doing? And then shut your
Exactly.
mouth. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Well, that's why I say listen first.
Yeah.
Listen first.
Yeah.
Yep. How are you? How's it been?
So I am a product of divorce in the 1980s, which was the sort of epoch of divorce. I think, my mother is that kind of generation first wave feminist
Yep.
who I think got married. I mean, I know got married very young, had children young. And then I think in some senses it was kind of a case of, oh my gosh, this is my life. And,
Right.
so things
Yep.
happened.
Yep.
And there was terrific shame and blame. We were in a small community. My dad was a teacher and a coach. We were very involved in church. Almost everybody had many opinions, which they felt compelled to share in an extremely unhelpful way.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
yeah, I'm sorry too. It was lousy
Yeah.
to be 14, 15 years old and going
Oh.
through that. But I wonder, do you find that there is still so much external shame and blame, or has it really shifted to now being primarily your own internal shame and blame? Is there still so
Great
much
question.
cultural shame around it?
Yep, great question. I think we're going in the right direction. I think we've made a lot of gains externally. Some of them are, some of those gains are being pushed back upon by, for instance, our current administration.
The gift that keeps on giving, you mean?
Oh,
That
yeah.
administration? Yeah.
Yeah.
What a joy. We're
Who
so lucky.
really, I think that our administration wants us, wants all women to be home and
Yeah.
married and having babies. And
Yeah.
they will do anything they can to enact laws to make sure that that's going to happen. So I think there's a danger there, but I do think we've made progress since the 80s. And, I think it's in a lot of realms. I think it's because we can talk about it more. Remember back in the 80s also, or maybe the 70s, you couldn't say the word cancer. Like somehow cancer was shameful. So people used
Oh.
to say the big C. And same with divorce, like the big D.
The big
right?
D. You're right.
Let's whisper about it because it's so shameful. And so I do think we've made a lot of gains. And I think that's partly because there are so many avenues now to talk about it. We still need more places to talk about it in real ways, right? Not the celebrity ways of, great respect and great love, but real ways. And, this podcast is a great example of that. Like, can we talk about it? Because when we talk about it, people feel less alone. And when people feel less alone, they feel less shame, because I think shame loves to live in the dark, right?
Shame feeds isolation, which feeds shame, which feeds isolation. I mean, you want to talk about the tail wagging the dog. It is a never-ending spiral straight to the bottom. I don't care what the topic is, whatever you're feeling shame about.
Yep.
You're on a downward path going fast.
Yep. And you can be on an upward path going fast or slow if you find a way to talk about it with other people who are going through it. That's exactly why I run the support groups, because people come in and sometimes they're not quite sure how they're feeling. And somebody else will put words to their feeling, and they'll look across the room and they'll say, oh my God, that's exactly how I feel, Or they'll identify, somebody will come in and say, well, my spouse did this and said this, and they'll say, that's not right. I can't believe you lived through that. And then they realize, oh, wait, I lived through that too. I guess it wasn't right when it happened to me either. So it's so useful to get these other perspectives.
Boy, I'm hearing all kinds of parallels to the addiction recovery work that my husband and I have done. But what's so fascinating is one thing that happened in my household, and my sense is it's happened in many households from conversations I've had. But you sort of talk yourself into partly I can't talk about this because nobody's ever been through this, and there's no other people in the world who will understand what I'm talking about or living with. So I'll hold it to myself, and the minute you talk about it and someone says, "Oh, I know that," or they finish your sentence, or they say something that triggers for you, you have this remarkable understanding that, gosh, I'm just not that unique. Divorce
That's
is
right.
divorce is divorce is divorce.
Yes.
There might be different avenues for how we got there, and someone's
Sure.
divorce might be much, much, much more
Sure.
traumatic.
Yep.
But but there's a through line that is essentially exactly the same
A
that
hundred
you
percent.
don't know about until you're talking with someone else who literally finishes your sentence.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. I mean, I always say every marriage is unique and every divorce is unique, but what connects you is all the feelings, which are so similar. And
Yeah.
I had this recently come up in a group with a woman who, culturally, she was very different than the other women in the group. Um, and at the end, before she left, she said, "You know, when I joined this group, I was really worried that culturally I wasn't going to fit in. My story's a little different." And she said, it has been so healing to see how much we are the same and how many feelings I have that you have. And just being part of that community for her was so healing.
Oh, that's really moving.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, Una, as I'm thinking about this is a little bit left field, and you maybe won't have an answer for me.
Okay.
But
Shoot.
I think some of what makes these kinds of conversations so interesting is that it highlights in a very acute way how unbelievably complex we are and how unbelievably simplistic we
Absolutely.
are. I mean,
Yes.
isn't that interesting?
It really, really is. It's so interesting because I think the content, right, the circumstances are what can be so have such a variety, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the feelings have such commonality.
We have I mean, I'm feeling as I'm listening to you like our feeling bank is actually quite limited. I'm
Yes,
sad or angry or scared or mad or you can say, well, I'm furious, but that's just a bigger word for mad.
that's right.
Our,
That's
so
right.
our feelings are kind of
Right.
uh, small.
Right.
uh, or,
Right.
or or we have a small number of feelings, and it
Yeah.
sometimes it feels like feelings are just this all-consuming thing, but if you really strip it down, you're
Hmm.
kind of sad or mad or scared. I mean, those are kind of your bad feelings.
Right, right. That's right. That's right. And I think in divorce, one of the things that's scary is that most people have all of them, right? And
uh
all the iterations of all of them.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so, and including relief too, right?
Yes.
Oftentimes people feel relief at different times, and I think one of the things that's a little bit unusual about divorce is I think oftentimes people feel two feelings simultaneously, which they may think, um, they may have the idea that these are kind of opposite
Uh-huh.
feelings, right? And yet they can hold these two
Hmm.
feelings together at the exact same time. And that's, I think, I feel like I'm selling the group here. I'm not trying to sell the group, but I do think it's such a passion of mine. I
Yeah.
do think that's one of the really lovely things about being in the support group, that people outside of the support group have a harder time when somebody says, I'm so angry at my ex. I can't believe they did XYZ. And I also miss them,
Yeah.
right? Like that's two opposite seeming feelings at the
Hmm.
same time. Or
Yeah.
like, I'm so sad that this marriage ended, and I'm so relieved that we're
Hmm.
not fighting anymore, you know?
Yeah.
So people oftentimes have really, overlapping feelings, 2, 3, 4 feelings at the same time. They have a lot of feelings during a divorce. And it doesn't stay at that kind of fever pitch forever.
Yeah.
But I think in the middle, in the messy middle, there's
Yeah.
a lot of feelings. Yeah.
Yeah. Really fascinating. So you work with women. Is there an equivalent for men? Because I continue to feel like until we create safe emotional spaces for men, men are going to, not obviously not all men, but as a species, men are going to dominate in physical ways, dominate in abusive ways, dominate in negative ways because we have stripped them of the ability to join a group and say, I'm so angry and I'm so sad. Or all the ways that women, I think it might be hard to start that conversation, but there are a lot of places where we can have those conversations. Are there equivalents for men?
Yeah, I also just want to say, I think, women before they get divorced, they're already primed in this way of like building community.
Yes.
They might have had a parenting support group, or they have a new moms group, or they're in a book club, or, if you ask a woman, and again, it's not all, but if you ask a woman, like, who's your best friend, they're going to say, oh, it's Jane, or it's Becky, or it's Kristen, right? If you ask a man, who's your best friend, oftentimes they'll say, my wife, right? Like they're less kind of in community, I think, in that same way that women are.
Yeah.
So I think there are some supports for men. There are more coming out. But one of the things we see in the world of divorce professionals is that women are more likely to grieve and men are more likely to replace. So men oftentimes will, dive into work, dive into substances or alcohol, dive into a brand new relationship really, really fast because they don't want to feel. And I think you're absolutely right. Like, our society needs men to be able to have safe places to feel and talk and get support from each other and not have to feel like they're weak if they're getting support.
Yeah.
And until we have that, not much is going to change.
Yeah.
So I invite any listeners out there who are great male therapists who want to start this kind of group to start it up.
Yeah, it really is. There's just such a deprivation of places to be vulnerable, I think, as a male or as a person who is not sort of a cisgendered woman. It's really remarkable how we have denied an entire half of our species the opportunity to say, I'm sad. I'm scared. I mourn this. We don't need to all live in the caveman era anymore. I think we can safely put that era down. I think we're past it.
Oh, I vote you for president. Not
Well,
that you'd want it. But.
We'll leave it at that. Oona, I read another article of yours on the 5 stages of grieving through divorce. Can you talk about those? I found those really important, just for anybody who's lost any relationship, romantic relationship, married or not.
Yes, yeah. So while I was writing my book, Unhitched, I got to this point where I thought, well, I think it would be really helpful to provide a map for people so they know where they're going. Because one of the things I experience in the women I work with is we were talking before about how many feelings they have, and they often, the beginning of divorce and the middle is so hard and so heartbreaking and stressful and challenging. And I think sometimes women fear like, oh my God, this is it. Like, this is my new life. I'm just going to live in this horrible place forever. And I have seen women come out the other side in this incredible way. So I really wanted to provide, like, don't worry. Like, you are feeling a lot right now, but that doesn't mean you're crazy, and it doesn't mean it's permanent. Like,
Yeah.
you're gonna you're gonna get through. So that's how I developed this model of divorce grief. And we were still using the old Kubler-Ross
Oh,
model of grief from the 1970s, which is a great model, but I think it doesn't really apply in divorce. And so that's how I developed the new model. Do you want me to go through it, or?
yeah. I would love to hear those stages
Yeah,
because I
the
thought they
five
were really
phases.
interesting.
Yeah. The first phase, I think, always starts with heartbreak.
Mhm.
And it's heartbreak whether you initiate the divorce or not. If your spouse initiates the divorce, of course there's going to be heartbreak because it wasn't your idea. You thought you wanted to be married, right?
Mhm.
And so that's heartbreaking in and of itself, and it can be shocking. It can be, and I've had people who come to me and they say, "I've been married for 30 years and I just got a text message from my spouse saying that they want a divorce." I mean, it's just awful, awful. People can be awful, right?
Yeah.
But I think also if you initiate the divorce, you've been through heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak when you weren't heard, you weren't seen, you were criticized. There were lots and lots of heartbreaks to get to the point of saying, "I need out. I need to initiate this divorce." So I think that's always the first stage. Nobody wants to get divorced. It's not like there's no such thing as a happy divorce, right? Nobody, except for, the
Except for
Hollywood
Hollywood,
stars. Right,
yes.
yes, yes, yes. And I think the second stage is often the longest stage, one that have talked about a lot today. It's the roller coaster, and it's the
Yeah.
roller coaster of feelings. And that's an important part of why I wanted to have this stage model, to show people that of course you're feeling this way. It's totally normal. You're going to feel sad, you're going to feel angry, you're going to feel relieved, you're going to feel fearful, uncertain. You're going to feel all of the feels, right? Um, and that's okay. You'll get through that. And in the book, I have some exercises to help people with their extreme emotions, and just help to manage that, get through that. And after roller coaster, I think comes mending. And I always
Mm.
like to picture that as like you're taking a needle and thread to the little holes in your heart, because I think your heart can get kind of bruised and battered during a divorce. And so mending is really a time where people begin to spend time thinking about themselves again rather than just their ex and the divorce. And it takes so much energy during a divorce. There's so much energy outward. And I think mending is a time where you can really begin to look inward again and think about what you need and what you want. And I think as women, we're so socialized, right, to think about what everybody else needs. And divorce is actually presents this opportunity to think about what you need,
Mm.
which is
Boy,
really,
that's a shift in
yeah,
thinking. Even just that one sentence, divorce is an opportunity to think
yes,
about what you need.
yes, yeah,
That's a
yep,
significantly different mirror to look into.
yes. Oh, I think divorce offers a lot of opportunities, actually, a
Mm.
lot of opportunities and gifts. And people don't think that in the beginning.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel that way in the
Well,
beginning,
every
but
hard lesson offers opportunities, but
yes,
it is really hard to see those trees in that forest in the
yes, it
moment.
is. It is.
I
It
always say to
is.
people, I didn't sit beside my husband in his medically induced coma and think, boy, this is going to really be an incredible thing for us. I did
Right.
not think that in the moment.
Oh, what a gift. Here
Yeah,
I
wow,
am
I'm so
in the
lucky with
hospital.
deep
Oh,
respect and
yes.
reverence and love. No, that was not where I was at.
Yeah.
Because
Not even the free saltines that you got in the hospital
none of it,
weren't
none of
even.
it. And
Right. No.
I mean, you got to really be past that. I think this kind of grief recovery is absolutely, you have to be so far past it, and that rear view mirror has to be
Yep.
really enhanced before you can look back and say, wow, this was actually a
Yep.
blessing.
That's right. That's right. And I think, there can be small little blessings that come along the way.
Sure.
Where, like, one of the things I see is when women do things that they're not accustomed to doing. So they fix the kitchen faucet, for instance, and because there they are and the kitchen faucet has broken, and in the past they just never, it just wasn't their job. They just didn't think that they could do it, so they outsourced that. And then suddenly they're the only ones in the house, so they got to do it. And then they feel really proud and happy about that. So yes, but I think that the feeling that the divorce itself was a gift, that comes later. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I think after mending comes the phase of letting go. And again, like the Kubler-Ross model, my model, I don't think people, finish one phase on a Friday and start the next phase on a Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Like people go in between phases and they go back and forth, or some people might even skip a phase. But letting go is really important. I was having a conversation earlier today about how hate is not the opposite of love. Right? Because hate keeps you attached. And sometimes women, when they're getting divorced, they're so consumed by what their ex is doing or saying, or what the kids are doing when they're at the ex's house, and that they're consumed and they're still attached. And I think there's an important phase of being able to let go of your ex, letting go of the narrative of what happened, letting go of other people's narrative of what happened, right?
Yeah.
That's an important part of healing in order to get to the final phase, right? And then I think the final phase is moving on. And moving on does not mean, oh, I forgot that I'm divorced, or the divorce isn't part of me. It's not, oh, now it's over. It's always going to be part of you. It's always going to be part of your history, like your husband's addiction is always part of your marriage. It's always part of him. It's always part of you, right? Yeah. It's not like, we forgot about that, or it's not part of us anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Right. But it does mean in the moving on phase that you're investing in something different. And I don't mean financially. I mean, maybe it's financially investing, but you're investing your energy in something other than the divorce. You're investing in yourself. You're investing in your kids. You're investing in a new career, a new school, a new hobby, new dating maybe, So that's really the moving on phase. And I think, one thing I'll say about that is that I do think there's these kind of big life events that happen that can bring back some of the pain and loss of the divorce, even in the moving on stage, even, 10, 20 years later. Something can happen where it kind of brings it all back, a graduation or a wedding, or, your spouse getting remarried, or something, a new breakup, can bring back the feelings of the first divorce.
Oona, I'm curious, how do you help women navigate like ex-in-laws and those kinds of things? Because like in my parents' case, I feel like my mom and my dad's parents kind of got closer after my parents got divorced, just for lots of kind of reasons, and nobody was ever particularly close. But there was a different level of appreciation. There was a different relationship that was built. Is that common, uncommon? What do you see in these women that you're working with?
So I think it's no surprise to anyone that your relationship with your spouse is going to change, right? When you go through a divorce. Obviously, that's an obvious change. I think what's surprising to people is how much other relationships change, whether that's relationships with in-laws, with friends, with coworkers. I see a lot of women renegotiate. When they renegotiate their boundaries with their spouse, it almost gives them this license to start renegotiating other kinds of relationships. So sometimes I see women who get divorced from a very critical or emotionally abusive partner, and once they get through the divorce, they realize, wow, my boss is also really critical.
Uh-huh.
Like I was really used to being criticized, and I didn't realize how critical my boss was until I got divorced and wasn't facing that criticism anymore. I'm going to get a new job now because I can't take this, right? And so I think with in-laws, sometimes it does strengthen, those relationships strengthen. Mostly what I see is that they don't strengthen, and that's can be really sad. It's another loss, it's another piece of grief, it's another thing that people oftentimes lose. And sometimes people are very invested and they are able to stay in touch, and sometimes even if they have a very strong relationship with their in-laws when they're married, sometimes they just, one side or the other can't manage it, and that's very sad. You know, I mean, sometimes there's a relief to get rid of your in-laws, right?
Sure.
Oh,
Sure.
God, thank God I don't have to deal with that
Yeah.
lady anymore.
No more Christmas
right?
with them.
But,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think it can be a real loss if it's somebody you were close to, or a group of people you were close to. You know,
Yeah, you do marry a family.
you'd marry
If you have
and you
if you marry
divorce a
someone who's got a
family.
family. Yeah, it just
Yes.
so I mean, yeah, it was funny to have we were closer to my mom's family just from proximity, but to all of a sudden my dad was my dad not Uncle John to all my cousins anymore? There was all these kind of weird questions, and that wasn't the case, but they hardly ever saw him. And so it was just, it is an awkward, odd thing.
Yes. Yep.
Do you still see this idea of couples friends and everybody sort of picking one of the two? And I mean, that's such a trope in movies,
Right.
and certainly for anybody who's broken up in a relationship, if you've become friends with your partner's friends, all of that shifts. But is that just the way it kind of has to go? Are we just wired to say, well, there were two of you, now you're separated, we're just going to stick with one?
Right. You know, I do see that a lot, and sometimes it's because one person has clearly kind of done something to cause the marriage that's really unforgivable, right? You see that a lot with like affairs, and not that all affairs are not forgivable, but if it's something that's pretty egregious, financial abuse, I see that a lot with, or a lot of secrecy, then I think people oftentimes choose a side. Again, when we were saying before about how important it is to ask the person, if they want congratulations or condolences, like how are they doing? I remember long ago, I had a friend, and they had kids. She got divorced. They had kids, and I was very proud of myself because I saw her husband at a school event, and I wouldn't speak to him. I thought I was being so, loyal to her and on her side. And I was very proud of myself that I didn't speak to him, and I kind of gave him the cold shoulder. And I saw her later. She wasn't at that event. I saw her later, and I said, I just want you to know, I saw your ex at this event, and I wouldn't speak to him. And she said, we have kids together. And he wasn't good during the marriage, but like we're trying to co-parent. So I'd actually really appreciate it if you would be nice to him next time. And it was such a wake-up call to me. And I said, I am so sorry. I made an assumption, and that was the wrong assumption. And, and I didn't ask you, and here I was thinking I was being loyal, and I am sorry. And from then on, I didn't really like this guy, but I was friendly to him. It didn't cost me anything to be like, hey, how you doing? How are the kids? Let's talk about the kids. How are the kids? Our kids were in the same school. So I just, hey, how you doing? How are the kids? And that was such an important lesson to me, and I think, I can think of other friends where other friends have said to me, hey, my ex treated me really badly. And you know what? I feel like it would be it would really be painful for me if you continue to be friends with that person. You and I were friends first, and I don't want to hear anything about them. And frankly, it would really feel bad. And so I've been able to respect that.
Yeah. This is such an important piece, Una, this let the person going through it
Yes.
dictate what you
Yes.
do to whatever
Yes.
extent you can. It's their
Yes.
experience. And, there's no question that friendships in a divorce also have loss and mourning and all of those things. I
Yes.
mean, that rock of divorce creates ripples that go far beyond whoever lives inside the four walls of that house, for sure.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely. Yep.
but nobody else is experiencing it firsthand the way the
Yes.
people inside those four walls are. And so to just ask and listen
Yes.
is really powerful.
Ask and listen. Right. Right. Ask and listen. Also, I think it comes from a good place. Like, people want you to be over your divorce quickly,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, is it done yet?
Kind
Are
of
you
a,
happy now? Yeah.
yeah.
Do you wanna? How about you date now? Oh,
Hmm.
I want to set you up. And sometimes people aren't ready to date. So again, it's like, listen, listen, listen. And I think, if your friend or your family member has gone through a divorce, also know that, like, if they're a parent, the times that they don't have their kids in the beginning, those are the hardest times,
Yeah.
right? And so even if you don't invite your friend out for dinner every Saturday night, like, maybe you're going to Target, and you say, hey, do you want to come along? Or, hey, I'm
Hmm.
at Target right now. Can I pick you up anything? Do you need anything? You know? Um, so really just offering to be there in little ways is better than saying, if there's anything you need, just let me know.
Just let me know. I know.
That
I,
puts the onus on the person who's going
yeah.
through
Who's
something.
going
But if you
through it?
kind of
Yep.
just offer, hey, I'm at the coffee shop, can I bring you something?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I
I,
made an extra large pot of chili tonight. Can I just bring some over? I'll just
yeah.
drop it at your door if you don't want company. You know,
Yeah.
bring a
I
lasagna,
think
bring a hot dish.
bring the hot dish. There it is.
Bring the hot dish. This is going
Yeah.
to be our takeaway. Bring the hot dish.
Yeah. I was with someone recently whose husband died about a year and a half ago, and she said to me, this is a couple's world. I did not
Yes.
really understand how much that was true until
Mm-hmm.
he was gone.
Yeah.
How do you help people navigate just feeling like the third or the fifth or the seventh wheel,
Yeah.
or feeling like a unicycle in a bicycle world?
Yeah. Yeah. So, a couple of things. I think it's true, and I think it's true for women going through divorce too. And that's why I really suggest to women that they find other women who are going through it. And those could be people who are single by choice, single people who are divorced, people whose spouses have died. But finding a single tribe, I think, is really important. And then I think the other thing is practicing. Like, I have women who say, like, I could never go to a restaurant by myself because everyone would be staring at me. Everyone is going to think I'm the biggest freak. And guess what? No one stares at you. No one
Nobody
thinks that
cares.
you're
They're
a
on their own
freak.
phone.
Right. And so I say, right, I want you to practice, right? So you can't go out to dinner by yourself. How about you go out to coffee? And instead of getting your coffee and going, I want you to sit down in the coffee shop for 10 minutes and drink your coffee. You can bring a book. That's
Yep.
okay. You don't
Yep.
have to stare at the wall. You don't have to talk to strangers. You can bring a book, but go practice 10 minutes, right? And then I want you to go and have lunch out by yourself, right? And just practice. That's all we're doing is just practice. And maybe it's going to be terrible and you're going to come back and tell me it's terrible. But you know what? You will have had lunch. Pick a place you like so at least you have good food,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
And then kind of build up, right? And then build up even to, like, going on vacation by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Take a weekend away, you know?
As I'm listening to you, I'm just so struck by the fact that essentially we never really outgrow our seventh grade lunchroom anxiety. What if
It's
no one
so
lets me
true.
sit at the table?
Yes.
What if I don't get
Yes.
to be with the cool kids? What if there's not a spot for me? What if
Yeah.
everyone looks at me? How will
Yes.
I stand up to the criticism, the scrutiny, the judgment? And what we all forget is nobody's paying attention to us because they're all asking the
I
exact
know.
same questions about
Right.
themselves.
Yes. Yes, it's so true. It's so
Yeah.
true. And I think these days people are so busy and they're so stressed. And that's what I also remind my clients who are going through divorce as they say, and then I haven't heard from my friend. And I say, you know what? She's probably really stressed out too for her
Yeah.
own stuff. So you reach out. It's not that she doesn't love you. It's just
Yeah.
that she's dealing with her own stuff. We're all dealing with our own stuff, and so
Yeah.
we do have to reach out. And I think that's also a really nice thing to tell people going through a divorce or people who are grieving too. Is like it actually feels good to help other people. It doesn't mean you have to like take a whole weekend and paint their garage,
Right.
but give a nice tip when you go get your coffee, or you bring over the chili to your friend's house when you make an extra pot, or help an old lady across the street. Like those things feel good, right? So do some of those things too. That can be a form of self-care,
Yeah.
that doesn't cost a lot or take a lot of time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's very rare to give something and not also get in the giving. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Do you think from a
Unless it's COVID or something like that.
That's true. That's true. Yes. That's an excellent point. Oh, well, there should always be an asterisk, and the
Yes.
ad should just say, unless it's COVID.
Yeah.
Um, do you think that from a, I don't know, evolutionary perspective, humans are wired to be monogamous? Or do you think we are so in the routine, both from organized religion, from the tribal mindset of just kind of, you got to pair up because otherwise the saber-toothed tiger is going to get you. Is it just instinct, or is it an emotional thing? And we really, if you find somebody you can stay with your whole life, great, but it's not actually what we are.
Well, I think the divorce rate proves that, right? I mean, I would say it's a little bit different. I think that actually do think we're wired to be in connection and oftentimes in deep connection with one other person. Where I differ is I don't think that we're wired to be in deep connection with somebody, that we can pick the right person when we're 22 to be in connection with for the next 60 years, or even when we're 28. I mean, it's really the only choice that people are asked to make, that they're supposed to make a lifetime commitment to, right? Like nobody says, okay, you're 23 years old, why don't you pick the one job that you're going to have for the rest of time until death do you part, right? Like, why don't you live in the one house? Why don't you pick a house when you're 23? Don't outgrow it. You're going to need to live in this house from the time you're 23 to the time you die when you're 90. Like, we don't ask anybody to do that. And yet, there's still this idea that, like, a long-term marriage is what's successful. And I don't buy that. I think what's successful is a happy marriage. I believe in marriage. I believe in love. I believe in long-term relationships. But I don't believe that the success rate is by the number of years you're together. I think the success rate is how happy you can be with each other, how respectful you can be with each other, how much you can grow with each other, not how long you can grit your teeth and and bear it,
Right.
how long
Right.
you can roll your eyes at your spouse and, hope that they, die or something.
Hope that they
I mean,
choke. Yes. Yeah.
right? So,
Oh, that's so interesting. Okay, this is probably my last question for you, and I'm asking you all these crazy hypothetical questions, but your answers are
I
really
love it.
fascinating to
I
me,
love
Una.
it. This has been such a fun conversation. I
Good.
love
It has been for me too.
Yeah.
So I wonder, do you think that Hollywood and romance novels and social media have made marriage harder because we see so much of the facade of perfection? And so when we don't have that, we think, well, clearly this isn't right. I'm going to go find it somewhere else.
I mean, I definitely think that, yes, we don't see the inside of hard marriages, and so people don't quite know. But I don't think people are leaving at the first hard thing. I don't think people have a fairy tale notion, and then when the first hard thing hits, oh my God, I can't believe he gave me this thing for my birthday that I didn't really want. I'm getting a divorce. I don't think that. I have a slightly different take on it, which is that I do think that there is so much focus on, there's such a huge wedding industry.
Oh my
There's
gosh.
so much focus on the wedding, the dress, and now, I mean, even in the last 10 years, like, you can't have a wedding that doesn't have a photo booth and all.
You can't get engaged without a professional
Right.
photographer being with you. I
And
mean,
a
it's
videographer
crazy
and
town.
right. Yes, it's total crazy town. And you know what? Marriage is a really good deal for straight men. It's not such a good deal for women. There's this research out there that when a straight couple gets married, the woman's amount of housework goes up by 7 hours a week, and the men's amount of housework goes down by 1 hour a week.
Well, sure, because he doesn't have to wash his own socks or probably
Yes.
grocery shop or dust
Marriage
or clean the
is
bathtub.
a good deal. And I think people have caught on to that. And that's why I think we have such a big industry. Like, come on, women. You can have the dress, you can have the princess, you can have the big wedding where all the community is going to come together, and you can have the candy bar and I mean, all the
You name it,
things,
you've got it. Yeah.
right? Yeah. And
That
then-
is so interesting. I
Yep.
just read a thing today. A friend posted Michelle Obama was, I don't know if this is taken from her new book. I have no idea. But Michelle Obama said that a absolute turning point in her marriage to Barack Obama was one Saturday after years of saying to him, you and I both work full time, and yet I'm the only person who's keeping this house running, keeping our girls going. So kind of begrudgingly, he got a notebook and he followed her throughout the house for the day. And he realized he had no idea what time his girls went to school, came home from school. He didn't know who their pediatricians were. He didn't know who their friends were. He had no idea when laundry was done. He didn't know what do you dry in the dryer, what do you dry on an air rack. He had no idea when grocery shopping happened. All these things. And he said to her at the end of the day, I have not been a partner in this marriage. I've been a participant who has benefited greatly, and that ends today. And it's not that they went 50-50,
Right.
but he started taking care of the girls' schedule. I mean, he picked up a number of things. And she said that probably more than anything else saved our marriage, because I would say to him, you don't see what I do. And he would roll his eyes as if fairies were keeping the house vacuumed.
Yes, yes. And what's the big deal? Oh, vacuuming. It takes 10
Yeah,
minutes.
it takes
What's
10
the big
minutes.
deal?
Then you do it, Skippy.
Meanwhile-
Yeah.
Meanwhile, right, and I think there's now so much is being written about also all of the invisible labor
Yeah.
that falls to
Yeah.
mothers and
Yeah.
this whole mother load, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's not just the physical tasks, which are enormous,
Yes.
right? It's also all of the things you have to keep in your mind. When is the next dentist appointment? Oh, Jimmy's got to go to a birthday party on Saturday at 10. We have to have the present before they go to the birthday party. Oh, are we out of wrapping paper or not? Because we got to wrap the present. And and then if we pick him up at 11:30, well, then Sheena has soccer at 12. So when are the kids going to, I mean, it just goes on and on and on, right? This kind of invisible emotional load that mothers carry. Yeah. There's there's a book, there's a card game, there's all kinds of things called the fair play method. And that's really exactly what you're describing is a way of couples breaking down what are all of the tasks and can we make this more equitable? Which doesn't mean I cook dinner 3.5 nights a week and you cook dinner three and a
Yeah.
half nights a week. But how do we make it equitable so that
Yeah.
we're sharing the load? Because that inequality is really eroding so many marriages. I see that all the time in the women who are getting divorced that I see all the time. They carried everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of it I think is on us because we don't ask for help. We think in our minds, why aren't you helping?
Right.
But they do help, and then we tell them they've done it wrong.
Right.
Well, I mean,
right. It's not good enough.
it's not just men who need to evolve
Yes.
and shift.
Yep.
It's interesting. When my husband came home, he said to me, or came home from rehab, he said to me, I want to do the laundry, because he ruined so many pieces of clothing when he thought he was being helpful and just, put everything in the dryer for 7.5 hours. I have not done a load of laundry. Yeah, I
We
mean,
can wash the
everything came
blacks
out
and the
Barbie
whites.
sized. Yeah, I have not done a load of laundry in 9 years.
Wow.
And
Fantastic.
it's
and
incredible.
you're wearing clothes that look like they fit.
Yeah, right. He hasn't shrunk anything in 9 years either. But that was a huge piece. But here's what I had to let go of. He does laundry a lot. He will roll his eyes when he hears this, but there's two of us in this household, and we do like 3 or 4 loads of laundry a week, and I wash almost nothing. I mean, I put almost nothing in the dirty clothes.
Yeah.
But he finally said to me, after me kind of berating him for 2 years, you want to do the laundry? Because I'll quit if you'd like to do the laundry. But if you don't want to do the laundry, then how about you just shut the hell right up?
Right.
And,
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that
point.
was a really fair response from him. You can't
right.
complain that they're not doing it, and then when they start doing it, complain that they're doing it.
And
You can't have
micromanage
it
them.
both ways.
And micromanage.
And micromanage, which I seem to be excellent at. Yeah. So it's
Yeah. Yes.
it's
I
a
think you're absolutely right. It's both. Both
it's a
partners need
dance.
to
A
participate
marriage is
in
a
that.
dance, and sometimes you get to lead, and sometimes you get to follow, and sometimes it feels a little bit like nobody's leading, and I'm not sure what you do in those moments, but I guess you just muddle through.
Right. Hope for the best. Right.
Oona, tell us the name of your book and tell us how people can get in touch with you.
Oh, great. Thank you. The name of my book is Unhitched, The Essential Divorce Guide for Women. And I have a wonderful website that's oonametz.com, OONAMETZ.com. It's got tons of free resources on it. I know there's a lot of websites these days where you have to put in your email address or pay for something, but my website has tons of free resources on divorce and relationships and therapy and self-care and all kinds of things. So I invite you to go and hang out there as often as you like. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. I really, really have enjoyed our conversations.
Oh my gosh, I have too, and you've given me a lot to think about, and I absolutely know I will not be the only one, Oona. Thank you so much for joining me today, and everyone else, we'll talk soon. Thanks for joining me on Brave Middle Ground. I hope today's conversation inspired you to embrace the power of the in-between and take steps toward deeper connection and understanding. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your network. Your support grows our community and keeps these meaningful conversations going. For more information on Brave Middle Ground and everything else I'm working on, go to daynadelval.com. Brave Middle Ground is mixed by Sound Advice, and our music is by Quinn Del Val. Until next time, I'm Dayna Del Val. Stay curious, stay courageous, and stay connected.